Look, it's no secret that in the year 2020, mankind faced unprecedented challenges. With a world that was forced to isolate and quarantine, we became closer to the spaces that we call home than ever before. There was a radical shift as massive amounts of people began to move out of urban areas into rural landscapes. As I watched this radical shift, it only validated the years that I had spent traveling, studying, joining, and building off-grid communities. Together, we've come up with solutions to some of the world's biggest problems, and now I'm going to share them with all of you. For my first story, I'd like to introduce you to a community of trailblazers who I first met back in 2018 when they were building a greenhouse out of used car tires and glass bottles outside of Philadelphia. This is a story of a radically off-grid architectural movement emerging in Pennsylvania. It started when Will Vogler constructed an Earthship-inspired greenhouse in his backyard in the suburbs of Philadelphia. It grew when they took the experiment even farther by building a home for Will's father, who found himself displaced after Hurricane Harvey. With a community growing around them, the father and son team took the opportunity to create a classroom teaching off-grid skills. And so, the Tamaqua Sustainability Project was born. And this is their story. I showed up in the backyard of Will Vogler, a family man who was determined to prove that alternative building techniques could work in Pennsylvania. During my first week on the construction site, I was interviewed by Philadelphia-based podcast Sustainability Now. Yeah, this is really inspirational and exciting. I just drove down from New York last week, 3 hours here to Pennsylvania. It's just outside of Philadelphia, which is going to push this really out into the mainstream and make it more accessible, more palatable for a lot of people. The first time I encountered Earthships was on family vacation. I rented one, me and my family. I was about 14 years old, and I became super mega inspired by the fact that they were using recycled materials in these buildings, that there were palm trees growing inside, parakeets in the greenhouse. The whole thing was just absolutely mind-blowing for little 14-year-old me. And so I had my eyes dead set on learning how these things worked. And right now, I'm back on the ground here in Pennsylvania building this model, this greenhouse in someone's backyard. So it's just a great opportunity to be here and also to share this information, something that is really kind of hard to understand from the beginning for most people. You know, what you're telling me, you're taking garbage and building houses with it. You know, you're growing your own food inside, you're, containing and treating your own sewage, you're capturing rainwater, you don't need any air conditioners or heating systems to heat and cool your home. You're essentially not really paying any bills once the house is constructed. So it's a little bit over the top to believe, and it's a bit far out, but it's real and it's happening, and it could be happening in your backyard, and anyone can do it.
It really came down to graduating from Penn State, graduating from college, and with the 2008 collapse, just looking at a lot of people's financial nest eggs, going away. Looking at what, people did to solve that problem, I felt was unstable. It really started making me look around at how we lived. We can't keep doing the same thing. It's just, it makes us all vulnerable. I'm trying to figure out how to retire, in this age of just uncertainty. So we had always been trying to work with different greenhouses, growing our own food. It was struggling, then we had to learn all about greenhouses, and greenhouses have a short window of usefulness. And so our goal was to create something that we could use year round, and an Earthship type structure just made sense, 60 to 70 degrees year round.
In order to achieve this constant year-round temperature, half of Will's greenhouse is buried under the ground. In order to reuse as many recyclable materials as possible, the building material of choice for this greenhouse was old car tires rammed with dirt. This really labor-intensive process is actually an excellent way to reuse something that would normally just be thrown away in a landfill. By ramming earth into the tires, you form a structural block that can be used for the foundation and even the walls of a house. So we are doing some rammed earth inside steel-belted rubber casing, also known as used car tires. We're also using cardboard. It's a good way to eat up something that would normally be thrown away, and it helps us to keep the dirt inside the tire. And then start filling it with dirt. And usually you see the part in the process where we're hitting it with the sledgehammer, but really you can start pounding the tire, use as little force as possible as necessary, so just with your hands. The effect we're trying to get of this back wall is that it's going to maintain the heat in the building instead of letting it go away. So normally you have houses that are made where it's essentially just a box with systems in it. A box that gets warm during the day and cold at night, and the way that you regulate the temperature is by burning fuel oil or using electricity in the form of air conditioning. So the difference with an Earthship or any rammed earth structure or any adobe or stone building is that that stone is going to be cool in the summertime, and in the wintertime it is going to be warmer. It's a readily available material all over the world. Even when we're going to Haiti, India, Mexico, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, you can always find car tires because it's essentially a waste product. So you're cleaning up the streets, you're keeping them out of a landfill, and you're turning them into a usable building material. So phase 2 of the tire pounding, after you've gotten as much into the sidewall as you can with your hands, is going to be to, not with massive big swings so that you can't work for the rest of the day, but just little hits of the sledgehammer so that it pounds the dirt up into the sidewall. After the completion of the Earthship-inspired greenhouse, Will began to make plans with his father, who at the time had been living in an RV in Texas. They wanted to take these techniques to the next level and build an off-the-grid homestead that, once complete, would free them from having to pay utility bills every month.
Part of being free is, knowing how to build your own house and to fix your own house. My dad was he wanted to come into Pennsylvania, so we decided that maybe Tamaqua was the place.
So you brought this all the way from Texas?
Yeah. And then I went down by train and got, I don't know how well, it's been a while since I had it on, so. Texas. Lived in Galveston for a while, then Hitchcock for a while, which is just across the causeway. And then I was in Dickinson with this RV.
All right.
And where we were was where Harvey flooded everything. I have pictures of this van with the water all the way up to the windows.
Oh, geez.
And we just, everything you're kind of looking at is pretty much new or in progress, because we got shut down because of the coronavirus. And then May or June, I just started working on it. So we just, a couple months ago, got the trim on the front, and then we tried to get this closed up, so that was like July. August, we put the windows in. Well, by putting the windows in, I made the frames, okay, because that's 20-some frames I had to make. And it takes about a day for each one of those. So you got 20 windows, it took a month.
Yeah.
All right, so then Yeah, it'd be September. We stuck the windows in. Fortunately, they fit. You know, all kind of crooked. So I kind of knew the area, and then Will said, "Hey, you know, Tamaqua is allowing us to build these homes." I said, "Okay," and looked on the internet, and there was this 18, 19 acres here. So I told him, I said, "Go up and look at it." Yeah. So he liked it, so we bought it. We're going to take a look inside and see how far we've come. This is a coffin door, they call it. And it'll have more decoration through here. It was just so heavy, I wanted to get it up now, and then I can decorate it. This is G. She is a full-bred collie out of Oklahoma. And she drank all those beers. So we have a drain here. This is a mud room. And the idea is that the air from the outside will only come into here. We close this door before we open that door. This is our first bedroom, our supply room right now. So this table has, well, plywood on it, and the idea is it's perfectly flat to make doors. Miter saw, gotta have a miter saw. Yeah, if you don't have that, you're not going anywhere. Right, this is our bathroom, and you can see we've just put the pipe in there, and we have some hole in the ground yet. Yeah, 6 months he kept saying, "Come up, come up, come up," and his is going to be done, and then mine will be next, so I finally came up. Yeah, went through all the problems with telling us that the land was wetland. You couldn't have a road on it, we'd have to get special permission, that would take 2 or 3 years, yeah. So you have to learn to play the game.
Yep.
And it gives you an idea of the view from up here. A couple of weeks ago we had yellows and reds and greens. It was real pretty. They just turned brown overnight. The solar panels, because I don't have them on the front yet, but you can see the wires coming in. And somebody was wondering how difficult it is to put your solar panels in. It's snap together technology. Okay, so they come right off the panel. You can buy an extender cable and you just put them together and then run them into the power inverter. Charge controller directly hooked into the solar panels, and it has a picture of the solar panels. Solar panels, I have them just laying on the roof. Alright, this is 6 of them. But we have some other ones, like the white one up there is running the fans. That's all it took to run the fans. There's a couple more down by the RV and the other van, and they're keeping the batteries hot. You know, so if I go down there and start that van, it'll fire right up. 74, 78 volts, 101, you know, that's what's coming in. Now it pulses to charge the batteries, so you can see this up and down. But normally, when the sun's out, that'll be like 25 or 30, okay? And this, now it's saying the batteries are down because I've been using it, so they're running 21 volts. Normally it would be 24 volts. So that's why it's beeping. It's trying to tell me I got strain on it, yeah. And if you can see, we're rainy, it's terrible weather outside, so it's struggling.
But has this been doing well?
Oh yeah.
Normally, you've been able to charge your batteries.
Been able to run the refrigerator, the microwave. That's a kilowatt microwave. I just wait for like 10 o'clock thereabouts, and this thing will have both green lights on. And yeah, you can make coffee, whatever you want. And everything has to work together. You know, it's like we were talking about, well, turn the lights on. Well, it all has to feed back to the panel. And there's 2 systems. I have the DC lights, like on a day like today where it's been raining all day, I'm mostly on DC. Yeah, we have, this is 24 volt lights. So we're not just dependent on the power inverter. All right, so I can have those on at night, things like that, and it'll light the place up. They're yard lights, okay? The ones they put on the walkways and the like. And the box that comes in, it will actually say 12 volt. supply, battery operated. So I just picked them up at Lowe's, and I just put the two of them together to make 24 volts. So that's why there's two of them on.
Serving all of Schuylkill County is the W3PWA linked repeater system.
So what's this thing?
The amateur radio, if you're out in the woods, they actually have what they call wilderness protocol for injured campers or hikers. So if you need medical help, you can hit it on the repeater. And they're on the mountaintops, almost every mountaintop, every state. So if they linked everything, you could actually talk to California. So, but here, Schuylkill County, they just have 4 transmitters. They pick up and retransmit whatever you say. Right? And the radio you heard, that's on DC. It works in the car, so we have it in there.
My father was always real big into solar, and I kind of blew it off because I didn't really see that it was necessary, and it was just so easy to just get power. So I started just really asking my father all these questions about solar, and just really started getting into it. Learning about charge controllers, power inverters, 24 volt, 48 volt, 12 volt. What's better and why. Started learning about electronics, and the more I learned, realized that the power inverter could barely handle any kind of heating source or any kind of cooling source. So that got me into passive solar homes and passive solar, passive heating, trying to build so that we can heat and cool the structure without electricity.
Alright, so you might be wondering, this is an Earthship house, right? Well, not quite. Typically, Earthship homes are built using tires rammed with dirt for a few reasons. First of all, it's a way to reuse something that people normally throw in the garbage. Second, it's pretty economical because you can usually get tires and dirt for free. But lastly, and most importantly, depending on where you live, the design of the house can utilize the thick earth-filled walls in order to eliminate your heating and cooling bills. And even though Will had used tires to build his greenhouse, Bill's house is built using cinder block filled with concrete. In theory, as long as the house is built correctly, the cinder block walls should still have the same energy-saving effect.
Well, the contractor did the hard part. Okay, yes, he did the hard part. He laid the block, put the footer in, measured it out. He had ran the dozer to, dig it out and put the cistern in. We have a cistern, 2,000-gallon cistern. So he figured all that out, and then once we had the trusses on, he put the roof on, but then we had to stop. Yeah, so winter came and went, and then we got back to it. Yeah, and now it's coming again.
So for people who don't know how this type of system works, what's the idea here?
Well, it's the same thing as getting heat from the earth. Your back wall is covered with dirt, or you have tires, and the idea it comes up to the earth's temperature, which is like 60 degrees, and that radiates into the house. All right, underground is going to be at the same temperature. So if you're 100 degrees, you're drawing air through there, you're getting 60 degrees into your area. Now, this is on solar, so it's not costing us any energy. You don't have to pay for it. Now what's going to happen here, the reason this is like 3 feet below, we're going to play with the freeze line, okay, with some insulation. Probably just come back thing, and then it'll be filled with dirt. And the idea is to keep your dirt from freezing, and then it keeps the house warm.
This is something I haven't seen actually, so...
There's one by every cooling vent.
Did you come up with that?
Well, Will was using it in his greenhouse, all right, because he was having moisture problems.
Uh-huh.
And so he picked up a solar operated fan, and it helped him a lot. So he sent me 3 of them. I got 2 of them in, I got 1 more to put in. But it also brings the air in from the cooling tubes.
Where do the cooling tubes come in the building?
Well, they're right outside here. You can see the dent. This would be where one of them is. This is another one. And they go into the rooms. All the way to the back wall in that corner. And you can see where the pipes are. And then it'll come up like a regular register. Okay, so we can open it or close it as we will.
Alright, so what are they talking about here? Basically, they're talking about getting free air conditioning by burying a tube under the house that hot air is going to move through and cool down and then come into the building as cool air. And in the winter, when you want to keep the warmth inside the house, you're going to close off the vents that are in the floor so that the cool air doesn't come into the warm room. And the final thing that Bill isn't mentioning here is that all of the glass on the house is facing in the southern direction, because in the winter the sun comes up in the southern sky, comes in through the windows of the house, and warms up the space.
I have a lot of relatives that are in construction, and they're just still not convinced, that we're going to be able to maintain the 60 to 70 degrees year round. So yeah, I'm a software engineer, and I am working on an app that is basically a dashboard for Earthships. And it is going, it's using home automation technology off-grid, and based on sensors, humidity and temperature are our main sensors that we're interested in. We can start activating fans and reverse air from the greenhouse into the main house, or from the main house and exhaust it into the greenhouse. One of the things I want to do with this structure is actually have the humidity and the temperature both outside, inside, not only the greenhouse but also the main house, and then send that information to the web so that we can show other people what this house is capable of doing live. And I call it like almost a score, of what is it outside, what is it inside, and what are we able to achieve, passively. And that difference of 10, 20 degrees, I consider that a type of something that we can track, and something that we can score, and we can compete, if you would.
All right. We have our gutter system. We only have the back gutter on, what we needed to catch most of the water. And of course it's going into the cistern, 2,000 gallon cistern.
So what are you standing on right here?
This is the cistern, right through here. And you can see this is the entrance, and there's just it ends, but then these are possible openings if we wanted them. And well, you can still see part of the cistern. And this whole area is just one big tank. Now we have it on this side, so if we want another one, if we don't have enough water, we can put another one in.
So all the water right now is just coming from this tank?
Right off, yeah, right into this tank, right off the roof into the tank. Come out every couple of days, get the leaves out. Out in the woods, you're going to have leaves. And then, like I say, once we get more of the roof on, we'll have those wings to actually catch more water. So you're going to make the power for me? So we're in a rush for this weekend. We're going to do bottle walls, and the idea is to get these doors so we can seal the thing up. We worked with Will's down in Ambler, and it took quite a bit to get those bottles in. And it's a multiple process. You get your bottles in, and then you got to come back and fill it in, and then you have to clean your bottles. And he was doing a pattern, like a swirl. And I've seen some of them where they have a phoenix and all kind of stuff. It's kind of neat.
Cool.
They asked me how many bottles I wanted to work on. I said, I'll do one.
The story doesn't end there. They've begun using this house as a classroom when they formed something called the Tamaqua Sustainability Project, and hosting workshops in order to teach people these unique skills. In the fall of 2020, I was invited to teach a bottle brick wall workshop. I took the opportunity to meet everyone that was involved one-on-one, to hear their unique stories, and to share them with all of you.
When I got involved with Will and Bill 3 or 4 years ago at this point, we were just building a little greenhouse in Will's backyard.
All right, what are you doing, Nikki?
I'm finishing this bottle wall.
putting a final layer of concrete on. Then we're gonna clean off all the bottles just like this to create that beautiful stained glass effect from the bottles. And that project served as a prototype for this project, which is a single-family home on 18 acres of land. And the vision for this site is 18 acres of experimental architecture. So this weekend's bottle workshop was our very first community workshop that we've run, and we really wanted to, bring a group of students in, both to share the skills and resources and knowledge that we've gained just by doing these projects. Provide students with a sense of confidence that they too can build like this. And also to get a little bit more work done on the house that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to do.
Yeah, I feel like we went in here knowing relatively little about, we were kind of in a one-frame mindset about, okay, we'll build a cob house, because we had talked to some people about that. But we met so many people with so many different opinions about, what kind of materials are good for which kind of climates. I think this has expanded my my mindset about exactly how we could go about doing what we want to do, and it's also given us a lot of great connections. Really cool people came to this thing. Lots of experienced people as well who know what they're talking about and who we'd love to stay in touch with.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool to work on the Earthship with Will and Bill. That was a really good experience. It's really good to get some hard labor in, like especially working with the earth. I think that's really important. I don't really get a lot of that, like being in the city, living in an apartment. I don't really have access to like land, or much less land that I can dig up and like work with my hands and my feet. But having been able to do it in the past month, it's like it feels great. And it feels great to like wake up sore, and it feels like it's really needed, and I feel stronger. So it's a great kind of side thing that I didn't see coming, great benefit that I didn't see coming.
Are we filming right now?
We are now.
Oh.
Are we on camera?
Sorry.
Hold on.
I'm frizzed out, okay? It's been raining.
Cut. I need to edit.
It was cool to be able to physically build something,
Yeah.
to get to follow a process from start to finish, to be in the midst of a project like this that's like going on, and just to hear from people that are working on it, that have worked on it on different iterations of like something like an Earthship,
Yeah, and just like a different lens to try to like learn something instead of just reading about it in a book or watching like a YouTube video on it or something.
Mm-hmm.
To actually just like fall into it in person and have, a more tangible experience to then start your education.
Is it Bill that lives there?
Mm-hmm.
I just mixed Bill and Will up, like, the names. But it was like, honestly, I really liked hearing him talk and like everything he had to say about like the solar panels and like the energy he uses and like
The water.
yeah, the water. Like I felt like every time like he like had a moment to just like sit down and talk to people, it was like, yeah, I got a lot out of that. I got a lot out of like the hands-on. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been a part of anything that like kind of threw you into it this much. Like here, hop on this power tool.
Yeah.
Like wash all these things. So that was definitely helpful to like see like what goes into like building these walls.
The difference between, sustainability of a traditional house versus an earth house. If you buy your own land and build your own house on it, then you're not paying mortgage. You're paying for the cost of building the house in the first place, but not having to buy something that somebody else built is huge money saver.
If you follow an Earthship build, there's a lot of little things you can do to cut down on your bills or not have bills. For instance, electricity. And so if you don't have a mortgage and you don't have bills,
yeah, if you're using
what do you
solar
have?
power or water power, yeah,
sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Excited about that life.
Yeah, well, my name is Tom Moroz, and I'm the co-director, co-owner of Stonehenge Gardens. It's a holistic learning center. Tamaqua Sustainability Project is now located just about 3 miles north of Stonehenge. Stonehenge has been around for over 50 years, and there was a greenhouse attached to the farmhouse that was basically falling apart, and we had a colleague run into somebody that was building a greenhouse in Ambler, and we decided to use the Earthship technology to rebuild our greenhouse. And then through that, we got connected through to Will and his project. There was a lot of similarities. So we got to talking, and I think Will was exploring, places where you might be able to build an Earthship.
Building an off-grid passive solar house in Tamaqua. That's really, to me, what's most interesting about this project. I got interested in natural building from the perspective of being interested in preserving the earth and not destroying wonderful natural world that we live in, which is what's going on. So how can we live without destroying where we live? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, we hope that this initial bottle brick workshop will serve as a foundation for many more workshops to come. We have a lot of ideas, including earthen floors and perhaps aircrete and maybe hempcrete, other types of experimental building materials. And we're really excited for Billsboro and just the Tamaqua Sustainability Project in general as a platform for knowledge exploration and material exploration and exploration in community and exploration in ecology. When I got involved with this project and with building Earthships in general, I noticed immediately that there was a close connection between the designer and the builder and the actual structure, and also the earth and the systems that exist, such as the sun and the ground and rain. And I don't necessarily think that Earthships by themselves are is a panacea for all of the problems that we face as a society. However, I think the philosophies that they're built off of, which include being closer to the earth and nature, and also closer to ourselves, I think that it's these ideas that we have to adopt on a greater scale.
You're gonna get some incredible sunsets.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've got all these windows to watch it too.
Alright, that's the end of this video. Please let me know how you liked it in the comments section below. And while that might be the end of this story, it's certainly not the end of the story. Up next, I'm going to the American Southwest, the birthplace of the self-sufficient Earthship housing movement. I'll be touring off-the-grid houses of all shapes and sizes, from classic designs to wild fantasy homes, including a special tour of one of the original Earthships, built by pioneers of the movement who literally created the Earthship Academy. And the best way to learn about Earthships is by building one, and it's never been easier. I created the Earthship model kit to put an Earthship in everyone's hands. I took everything I learned from the Earthship Academy and boiled it down into a simple and easy to understand 32-page full-color booklet, which has all new diagrams to help you learn about the 6 design principles that make Earthships some of the most sustainable buildings in the world. This great educational package has been used in both the Earthship Biotecture Academy classroom and in classrooms around the world. All of the awesome inspirational projects that were featured in this documentary have their own unique videos on the Off-Grid Guru channel. I have a playlist called Earthships in Pennsylvania, which has the Billsboro full home tour separate video, as well as a video covering the construction of Will's greenhouse and a video covering the construction of the Earthship-inspired addition greenhouse that was added onto the farmhouse at Stonehenge Gardens. And if you want to stay up to date with the Tamaqua Sustainability Project's progress, then I'm going to have a link to their website in the video description. Be sure to check that out.